So, as we move along this kind of process, this journey of awakening, of spiritual awakening or ascending, or whatever it is that you want to call it, because it doesn't really matter, but essentially, it's a journey of remembrance, it's a journey of returning to what you are. I've talked about it a little bit in some previous videos, but just for a little bit of context, I'm basically talking about a spiritual awakening, or often something that will come into people's lives after some kind of huge change or huge shift in their reality. And it can be kind of brought on by a sudden incident, or it can be just something that happens gradually over time because people have started to embark on a little bit more of alignment, things that spiritual practices, meditation, yoga, different readings, different teachings. There's so many things that can get you into it. But whatever brought you here today, whatever brought you here to this place, to this video, to here with me now. I've talked a little bit of my own personal experience. I've had many ego deaths in the last kind of year of my life, many dark nights of the soul or of the ego, whatever you like to call it. And I'm still working through it. And I'm just here basically making these kind of observations. And something that I have really been observing a lot lately is how, as you seem to kind of energetically shift, as these layers of your old self start to come away through these ego deaths, through these sheddings, through this shedding of immense pain. Like if it's something, if you're here watching this, it's probably something that you can relate to, you understand, you have experience with. It's not like sadness or depression or any kind of other melodrama or even pain that you felt. It's a real existential, deep-seated shedding of this dark, really dark energy, really dark sensations, really deep and dark. And the thing that differentiates them from these sorts of, so-called negative emotions that you may have felt before is how stop-start they can be, especially as, for me personally, I found that as I'm starting to really progress, through this journey and you kind of feel this spiraling upwards and you feel this expansion in your moments. In certain moments, you feel like you're growing, you feel like you're evolving, you feel yourself from the inside out transforming. But there'll be these purges of real darkness coming up, and you'll get these little mini kind of ego deaths. They can start off really long and strong, and then they can end up being, as short as 30 minutes. And it's so intense, and it's a really interesting thing because you can't explain it to people who haven't experienced this sort of thing, because they'd say, oh, well, you're just having a bad mood, or it's just a mood swing. I mean, you feel like you're on the precipice. You feel like you're standing on the brink of hell looking down for 30 minutes or for an hour or for a day or whatever it is. I found mine are getting more and more sparse and more brief. And then you can just be sitting there looking into the chasm, this absolute void of existential dread of, is there any meaning to it all, to this life and beyond? Why are you here? What will happen? Where do we go when we die? Is there any point to any of this? Am I completely alone in this universe? And then 10 minutes later, you're up having a coffee, getting on with your day. That's not normal. That's not normal. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the sort of ego deaths that I'm talking about, and it's fascinating. And when I say spiraling up, I heard people earlier on in my journey, because you do this huge deep dive into what's happening. You just want to know what's happening because it's stuff you've never experienced before. And you hear people talking about the spirals. Things come in spirals. And a lot of people talk about it, and once it starts to really happen, then you start to understand, and it is that way because it's not a straight line. You can, it's not like, oh, it starts off really hard and ends up really good, or vice versa. It starts off hard as hell, as absolute hell. However, you will go in and out, you will fluctuate in and out of heaven and hell, like, with crazy speed. which in itself really kind of fully allows you to understand on a really experiential, really deep embodied level that time is not linear, that this entire life is not linear, that we are living, we are existing between different points in time and between different dimensions and different realities. And having this kind of expedited spiritual awakening, which for me has been very rapid and very almost violent spiritually, it has been like, I've likened it to kind of like when you get like dumped by waves, you know, like if you've ever swum in the Australian Ocean, this wouldn't apply around different parts of the world, but in Australia we can have really intensely powerful waves and really strong swell. So the undercurrent can really pull you up and then just like flip you over, and you can end up getting a concussion from these waves and how violent the dumping can be. And that's how it has felt so many times. That's how it's felt. And you just have enough time to come up, like gasp for air, and then poof again. And it just felt like that for a long time. And then I'll go in periods of just feeling like I'm transforming, like I'm expanding, like the colors are more beautiful, like I'm becoming reborn. It's just the wildest thing. It's the wildest thing. And it's just really something I struggle to explain. But it really is a spiral process, is what my point was here. So there's no linear kind of, you know, route to this journey. You can be everywhere at once. You can be in all places, in all different parts of your experience in one day, in 1 hour sometimes. And it shows you from the outside in and from the inside out, I should say, from the inside out, that one, we are living from the inside out. So your internal state is dictating your reality. It's dictating how you see and perceive the world. Two, we're not living in linear time at all. I mean, you can just jump between states of existence, states of being. You can feel yourself sometimes. I can feel myself just kind of migrating, just fluctuating between realities. The words fail me because there's not many words. But if you've experienced anything like this, I'd love to hear about it. Please write a comment, because I know it's one of those things that I think if I'd heard anyone say this before I'd had this experience myself, I would have kind of gone, yeah, okay, but how metaphorical is that? Like, you really experience that? Like, how is it really? And it's an actual reality shift, and you can feel it. You can feel yourself sometimes shifting in and out and between them. And the other thing that I've noticed is how often I feel like I am shifting between dimensions almost. I mean, like this third world, this physical, dense dimension that we live in, this 3D. And then, I'm not sure, I'm not a dimensionality expert, but I believe it's 4 or 5, and we go above and above and above. There are many dimensions, but say, you know, I believe a lot of the kind of spiritual interactions that we have are said to be in the 5th dimension. So I'm assuming this is what I'm experiencing. But whatever it is, this other dimension that you feel yourself shifting into quite often, sometimes I'm so much in that place, even though I'm still logically here, I'm still going through the motions, I can still feel and see everything, and I can still interact with my life here, I'm somewhere else. And I can be still working on a project at work, or doing something physically, you know, exercising or eating or here in the physical world, but I can feel myself somewhere else. It's just surreal. It's just surreal. So yeah, that was something I wanted to kind of just chat with you guys a little bit about today. And that's where I've been. I'm somewhere between worlds right now. I'd heard people say this earlier as well, walking between worlds, and you feel it when you're at the beginning of this kind of journey. You feel it, but it gets more and more real, that sensation of walking between worlds. And at first it's quite discombobulating, destabilizing, and it can make you give you this sense of weightlessness, like you don't know where you belong, you're ungrounded. And grounding practices have been really, really fundamental for me for the last many months. Daily meditation and yoga practice. Like I don't start my day without meditating, especially without a real long sit in meditation. To remind you to keep you into your center, to ground you onto the earth, and to remind you, like, anchor you to your center internally and externally. But at the beginning, it can feel very destabilizing and very much like you're floating in nothingness, just floating in air. But then, in certain moments, you can also feel extremely comforting. Like you begin to fully realize and understand, or some might say understand, but in a very embodied way, in a very experiential way, you begin to understand that no suffering that we experience in this lifetime, in this physical reality, nothing can actually hurt us. Nothing can hurt us unless we decide. Nothing is inherently bad unless we decide, unless we attribute that quality to it. This might sound like just a little bit of, spiritual, fluff if this is something that you haven't really gone deep into, but it's true. It's really true. You can really, when you go into this other reality, you realize there that nothing, it is just your mind, your thoughts, and the meaning that you're attributing to something that is able to cause pain and distress. Nothing can actually hurt you. You remember that you're eternal. Your soul starts to remember that it is there and it is eternal. And the more what I'm describing here is basically living more and more in soul, more and more in alignment with my higher self, with the higher you that we all are a part of, and less just in this 3D physical representation, this 3D physical expression, which is very valid and important because it's carrying, this is the vessel that carries us through our lifetime. So very important, and not to be forgotten either. And it's important to keep one foot always on the ground for that reason, because we live in the 3D world. But when you start to experience these different shifts, it's some kind of big insect floating on by. It becomes very apparent that nothing can hurt you. Time is all relative. It's not linear. There's not a beginning and an end to anything. You can never lose anything. Nothing is inherently bad or horrible or evil. It's only how you receive it, how your mind perceives it, the label that your mind puts on things. And it can be really, and reality, your internal reality becomes, this is a huge one actually, I should have mentioned earlier, but your internal reality, my internal reality has become as real, if not more, than my external reality. That, for me, has been one of the most surprising but most wonderful aspects of this journey. And most important, I think, for me, I think I always knew that. There's something, this is not new information from my soul. This is a resonance, and it really is, as they say, a remembering. It really is an unbecoming what you are not. And it's just remembering. You're not getting somewhere. You're not ascending to some heavenly place where you've never been. You're just letting all the things go. You're just taking the lead weight, the chains off slowly, one at a time, which is what the pain is. The pain, that agony, that those ego deaths, those spiritual deaths that feel like death every single time. That's what they are. This is the shedding. So, yeah, I just wanted to come in and share those thoughts with you today. But yeah, I think my most comforting part of all of this is that realization that the other, the inner reality, or the 5D, if you want to call it, which is basically the same thing, this other level of consciousness is just as real, if not more real, than this 3D world that we live in. This 3D world that we live in is just this little tiny fractal of our entire reality, and what's there to be experienced, to be savored, to be enjoyed, to be explored, so infinitely greater than what our five senses can perceive. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any experience with any of these things, or what you're experiencing, or if you're going through a spiritual awakening journey. And I really know, I've said this in a few videos already, and I really know how tough it can be, which is why I get on here and just ramble, because these sorts of videos have been a godsend for me. They have been the thing that have kept me feeling like, okay, there are other people in the world experiencing what I'm experiencing. It's not just me. And I found great comfort in them. So that's why I'm here talking, not for any other reason. And I really never thought I'd share this kind of personal stuff on the internet, but I feel like the internet needs to be used more and more for these things right now, because we need this connection. Humans need connection. And I know there's AI and there's all sorts of rubbish out there that we're trying to contend with, but this is really important. It has been for me, and so I want to pay it forward. So please feel free to share. Thank you for being here, and I hope you're all well. I will see you in the next one.